In the quiet hum of a loom, a single thread could change the world. But what if that thread, that idea, wasn't yours to begin with? It's a story as old as invention itself. A brilliant mind creates, another desires, and a third takes. We often think of history as a grand march of progress, of singular geniuses inventing our future. But behind the celebrated breakthroughs lies a shadow world, a world of secrets whispered across borders, of blueprints stolen in the dead of night, and of fortunes built on borrowed brilliance. This is the untold story of industrial espionage, the hidden engine that powered revolutions and redrew the map of global power. Prepare to see history not as it was written, but as it was stolen. It all began in the smoky heart of 18th century Britain, the cradle of the Industrial Revolution. Here, a revolution wasn't just happening in factories, it was happening in minds. Men like Richard Arkwright, with his water frame, and James Hargreaves, with his spinning jenny, were weaving the very fabric of a new world. Their machines were miracles of wood and iron, capable of spinning cotton with a speed and efficiency that seemed almost magical. Britain, recognizing the immense power it held, guarded these secrets with the ferocity of a dragon hoarding gold. Laws were passed, making it a crime for skilled artisans to leave the country or for textile machine plans to be exported. The nation was a fortress of innovation, and its technology was the crown jewel. But walls, no matter how high, always have cracks. And desire, the raw ambition for wealth and national prestige, is a powerful solvent. Across the Atlantic, a young America looked on with envy. A fledgling nation, rich in raw cotton but poor in the means to process it, America was economically shackled to its former colonial master. To be truly independent, they needed not just political freedom, but industrial freedom. They needed the machines. The call went out, a quiet summons for anyone who could break Britain's technological monopoly. Enter a young man named Samuel Slater. He was not a nobleman, nor a general, but an apprentice in one of Richard Arkwright's own mills. Day after day, he worked amidst the deafening clatter of the machinery, his hands learning the rhythms of production, his eyes absorbing the intricate dance of spindles and gears. But his mind was doing something more. He wasn't just learning a trade. He was memorizing a revolution. Every bolt, every lever, every gear ratio, he committed it all to memory. He knew the risks. If caught, he faced severe penalties. But the promise of fortune and a place in history was a siren's call he could not ignore. In 1789, disguised as a farm laborer to evade British authorities, Slater boarded a ship bound for New York. He carried no blueprints, no sketches, no incriminating documents. The entire factory, the heart of Britain's industrial might, was stored securely in the one place no one could search: his mind. Upon arriving in America, he found partners, men of capital who were willing to gamble on this unassuming young man's extraordinary claim. In a small mill in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, the painstaking work began. From the depths of his memory, Slater began to resurrect the machines. It was a Herculean task, translating remembered images into functional, working iron and wood. There were failures, moments of doubt where the complex machinery refused to cooperate, where a single forgotten detail threatened the entire enterprise. The weight of his gamble, the future of American industry, rested on the fidelity of his memory. Then, one day in 1790, it happened. The water wheel turned, the gears engaged, and the spindles whirred to life. It was a perfect replica of an Arkwright mill. The sound was not just the sound of machinery, it was the sound of a new era dawning. Slater had done it. He had transplanted the Industrial Revolution to American soil. In Britain, he was branded Slater the Traitor. But in America, he was hailed as the father of the American Industrial Revolution. His single act of intellectual theft set off a chain reaction. Mills based on his designs sprouted across New England, transforming the American economy and setting the nation on a course to become an industrial superpower. The ambition that had driven him across the ocean had paid off beyond his wildest dreams. He became a wealthy industrialist, a living testament to the power of a stolen idea. Yet this triumph was not without its shadows. The very system Slater had helped create was built on a foundation of moral compromise. The rapid industrialization brought immense wealth, But it also brought grueling working conditions, child labor, and the displacement of traditional artisans. The sleek, efficient machines he had so brilliantly recreated demanded a human cost. The wonder of technological progress began to feel overwhelming. The relentless pace of change, leaving a trail of social upheaval in its wake. Was this the dream he had chased? Or had the machine, once a symbol of liberation, become a new kind of master? For Slater and the society he helped shape, the initial ambition gave way to a complex and often disillusioning reality, and the cycle was destined to repeat. The student, America, would soon become the master, and in turn, the target. As the 19th century bled into the 20th, the United States became the world's leading innovator. From railroads to electricity, from the telephone to the automobile, American technology was the envy of the world. And just as America had once looked hungrily at Britain, other nations now looked at America. One such man was Francis Cabot Lowell. On a trip to Britain in the early 1810s, he toured their advanced textile mills. He wasn't just a tourist, he was a spy. He observed the power looms, a technology America lacked, and like Slater before him, he memorized their design. Returning to Massachusetts, he collaborated with a gifted mechanic named Paul Moody to recreate the machines. They didn't just copy, they improved. The result was the Lowell Mill, an integrated factory that took raw cotton and turned it into finished cloth all under one roof. It was a marvel of efficiency that surpassed even its British counterparts. This act of second-generation espionage accelerated America's industrial dominance. The story of Lowell shows a critical twist. The spy is not just a thief, but an innovator in their own right. They don't just steal, they absorb, adapt, and improve, pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Espionage became a catalyst, a cross-pollination of ideas that, while ethically murky, undeniably spurred global technological advancement. The game grew more complex and the stakes infinitely higher. In the 20th century, industrial espionage evolved from lone artisans memorizing machines to organized state-sponsored operations targeting military and computational secrets. During the Cold War, the KGB and CIA engaged in a relentless technological tug-of-war. The secrets of the atomic bomb, jet engines, and spacefaring rockets were the grand prizes. A stolen blueprint could shift the balance of global power overnight. The saga of the Concorde supersonic jet is a prime example. Its Soviet counterpart, the Tupolev Tu-144, nicknamed Konkordsky in the West, bore such a striking resemblance to the Anglo-French design that espionage was widely suspected. It was later revealed that Soviet agents had spent years gathering intelligence on the Concorde project. As we entered the digital age, the battlefield shifted from factory floors to the borderless expanse of cyberspace. The new spies were not disguised laborers, but faceless hackers. Their weapons not charm and memory, but malicious code and phishing emails. Corporations and nations now wage a silent, ceaseless war for data. Trade secrets, proprietary algorithms, and sensitive research and development data are the new crown jewels. A single data breach can be worth billions of dollars, capable of sinking a company or crippling an entire industry. The line between corporate competition and national security has blurred completely. The actions of a hacker in a dark room somewhere across the world can have a more profound impact on a nation's economy than a traditional army. So what does this long, tangled history tell us? It reveals that progress is not a clean, linear path. It is a messy, chaotic, and morally ambiguous process. The story of industrial espionage is the story of human nature itself, our boundless creativity paired with our insatiable ambition. Samuel Slater, Francis Lowell, the Cold War spies, the modern-day hackers, they are all part of the same continuum. They force us to ask difficult questions. Where is the line between inspiration and theft? Can an unethical act lead to a greater good? The legacy is one of cautious hope. While espionage can cause harm, it has also been an undeniable accelerant of human progress, ensuring that no single nation can monopolize innovation for long. It is a powerful, disruptive force that levels the playing field, shatters monopolies, and forces everyone to keep running, keep innovating, keep pushing forward. The next great breakthrough is being developed right now, in a lab, a garage, or a corporate campus. And you can be sure someone, somewhere, is already trying to steal it. The game never ends. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey through the hidden history of industrial espionage. If you found this story as fascinating as we did, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the stories that shaped our world. Let us know in the comments which part of this history surprised you the most. We'll see you in the next video.